Well, here we are again. I'm Jim McKay reporting live back home again and again and again in Indiana. The weather is finally here for us. It's 75 degrees now. They say it will reach the mid-80s with heavy humidity, 20% chance of rain, but even if it comes, it should come in the late afternoon or in the evening. So it looks like we're okay for a race today. In addition to the usual question of who's going to win the race, there are a number of other questions to be addressed here, and we will address them in a couple of minutes. One, for example, is what about the drivers? What about this long delay? How does it affect them psychologically? They are, after all, human beings. What about the cars? Race cars are meant to be run, not sit still. They've been sitting still for more than a week now, except for a very brief and slow practice session that was allowed yesterday. Still, however, this is the fastest field in the history of Indianapolis and a fascinating one as far as the dramatis personae are concerned. For example, we have, as we said, two fathers and sons here, the Unsers and the Andrettis. We have brothers in the field, the Bettenhausens. We have half-brothers, Johnny Parsons and Pancho Carter. We have more foreign drivers than we have ever had in a long time. There are 9 of them, 10 actually, if you count Mario Andretti, who, of course, was born in Italy. We said we have the oldest driver, Dick Simon, at age 52. Remember, though, that Mario Andretti will be starting near the back of the field because he crashed his regular car in practice and is driving a backup car. We would expect him to be charging from the start and also charging from the rear. Will be the only man ever to have won this race 4 times at age 51. Back again, A.J. Foyt. Well, right now, Jack Arute is down with the pole sitter, Rick Mears.
And, Jim, the pole sitter, Rick Mears, you may hold the distinction of having held the pole at Indianapolis longer than anyone, 21 days. Are you ready for the race today, Rick?
Well, I hope so. You know, it's. I think the layoff didn't really hurt anything. It just gives us a chance to regroup and get ready for this Saturday and let all the people come back out and everything. So I think everything's going to work out well.
But what about the mental part of it? Is there any tricks in the mind? Are you concerned at all? You didn't even take the car out for that warm-up session yesterday.
No, not really. You know, by going the day-to-day like we were early in the week, that's tough because you never know when you get up one morning to the next what it's going to be. So when they actually called it and decided to go today on Saturday, it was really a break then. Mentally, you could just kind of regroup, relax a little bit, turn everything off, and then get started again Friday.
Well, 3 days is too short of a time to go back to Bakersfield, your hometown, so what did you do during that period?
Oh, we just kind of laid low around here, really. We did a little testing at Milwaukee and went out and hit a few golf balls here and just kind of relaxed a little bit.
Showtime, though, now, and Jim, he's ready. He'll start on the inside of that front row.
Okay, thanks very much, Jack. And also recharged and ready to rev up again is our commentary team who'll be doing not the play-by-play, but the lap, I guess you would call it, commentary. My ABC colleague Jim Lampley and Sam Posey. Here we go.
Kind of startling to be here on a dry day, isn't it, Jim? A day on which the lyrics back home in Indiana have a new significance for all of us. Sam, in a moment, I'm going to ask you to address the 2 specific questions Jim has raised about the effect of the delay on the cars and the drivers. But apropos of that conversation with Mears, I think your assessment of his talent, mentioned during the rain last week, bears repeating.
Well, I had said that I thought it was significant that when Rick's first victory came here at the track, it was at the expense of A.J. Foyt, who finished second. My prediction is that Rick Mears will rewrite the Indy record books. And when he finally winds down his career here, which may be a long time away, because remember, he's only 34 now, that all of A.J. Foyt's records will be Rick Mears's.
Well, now, in order to take a step toward that today, he'll have to overcome whatever the effects are of that delay. What are the effects on car first, then drivers?
I really don't think, I know Jim mentioned it, but I don't think there's any effect at all on the cars. It's a little hotter today. It would have been better for them. They would have run better on cool conditions. And curiously, the drivers, I think, are relatively unaffected. Surprisingly, they're a lot like actors. They're used to waiting. Waiting's part of their metabolism. I think, and Rick mentioned this just now, that when the decision was made by the Speedway to reschedule the race for today and not try to hold it during the week, that almost every driver here was delighted with that decision. It allowed the tension to be defused and then refocused everyone on the same wavelength, pointing to this moment right now. The only thing that surprised me, frankly, was how late that tension started to build. As recently as yesterday afternoon, Tom Sneva was hitting a few golf balls. The Andrettis were lounging around the pool. Mears was doing the golfing. He said he'd also been out with this unusual varmint pistol that he has, shooting small animals. Just now, the tension has really come back.
I think it's worth noting that during the brief practice session Jim McKay mentioned yesterday, 30 minutes at only 120 miles per hour, 9 of the 33 drivers, Rick Mears among them, Jim, elected not to even take their cars on the track.
Absolutely. Well, not too many people elected not to come back, except when you figure that they came from all over the nation last weekend, many of them had to go back to their jobs, and yet somehow or other, these stands are filling up, and it's still almost an hour until race time. So the cars are ready, the drivers are ready, and so are the fans. So are you, I hope. Stand by.
This live ABC sports presentation of the 70th Indianapolis 500 is being brought to you by Chevrolet, who invite you to drive today's Chevy, live today's Chevy. By Sears New Century, come see all the ways we've changed and all the ways we haven't. By Miller Beer, Miller made the American way since 1855. And by the Breakfast of Champions, Wheaties, what the